Welcome to the second part of the video in which I attempt to debunk the claim of Muslim apologists that the Quran predicts the modern scientific Big Bang theory. And the passage you're looking at is Surah 21:30, which reads, "Have not those who disbelieve known that the heavens and the earth were of one piece? Then we parted them." In the previous video I pointed out that the passage itself refutes the above claim. Notice the words, "I have or have not those who disbelieve known." Who are these who disbelieve or do not believe? Well, they must have been contemporaries of the Quranic author of the 6th and 7th century, not scientists from the 20th century, which Muslim apologists want us to believe. And I'm going to provide evidence for that in this video. So let's investigate. A range of ancient religions appear to describe the origin of the universe as a primordial universal egg. We have like the laws of Manu. Creation begins with a seed placed in water. Then the seed grows into a golden egg, which divides into two, which eventually forms into heaven and the earth. That's the laws of Manu. In the Upanishads, if I pronounce that correctly, existence suddenly begins. It gradually grows into an egg, and when the egg has laid still for a year, it splits open, out of which the two parts appear, which eventually became the heaven and the earth. The resemblance here is obvious, yet interestingly, if we are to play the same game as these Islamic apologists, the laws of Manu and these Hindu writings, they provide a description much closer to modern science than the Quran. And if we speculate, if we say that both describe a process which includes a state from singularity to inflation and beyond, they do that if we want to speculate, but the Quran doesn't. Similarly, in the ancient Mesopotamian and Babylonian writings, we find the same concept. In the case with Gilgamesh, for example, we read, "When the heavens had been separated from the earth, and the earth had been delimited from the heavens." Furthermore, we have the Emma Elish, which describes the god Marduk creating the heaven and the earth by separating the woman Tiamat in two, which then became the vault of the sky and the earth. And next, this god fixes the course of the stars in the sky. Yet the whole concept of separation or of a fused entity and separation was not confined to the world of mythology only. The Greeks and the Romans speculated in the same lines, but they transferred the concept to the category of philosophy and science. Like Aristotle, somewhere between 384 and 322 BC, when he describes the proposition of Anaxagoras, who lived between 500 to 428 BC. He writes, "This is why they make statements like everything was originally mixed together. Others talk in this context of combination and separation. So the reason they say that everything is mixed and everything is because in their view everything comes from everything." That's from this book here, Aristotle Physics. In other words, existence at one time, in one era, was fused and then separated, according to Aristotle and Anaxagoras. And these are writings that precede Islam with more than 900 years. And the claims are quite accurate in terms of modern science. And Aristotle and Anaxagoras refrain even from the fundamental error of the common concept that this separation included the heavens and the earth. A serious error in terms of science, which the Qur'anic author, based upon the contemporary concepts of his time, includes. At least that's what Surah 21:30 confirms. Another vital author here is the Roman philosopher Lucretius, writing in the 1st century BC, approximately 700 years prior to Islam. He describes the origin of the universe, the heaven and the earth, as a congregated mass of atoms. This is what he writes. He says, and this is the book The Nature of the Universe by Lucretius. He writes, "At that time the sun's bright disk was not to be seen here, nor the stars that crowd the far-flung firmament, nor the sea, nor sky, nor earth, nor air, nor anything in the likeness of things we know, nothing but a hurricane of raging in a newly congregated mass of atoms of every sort. Now, that is quite accurate in many ways, at least if we include the entire first 300,000 years of the universe, according to modern science. Lucretius further describes a state of chaos and turmoil in which these atoms, which are compressed together, in which they collide. Here he writes, from their disharmony sprang conflict, which maintained a turmoil in their interspaces, courses, unions, thrusts, impacts, collisions, and motions. So his picture here is of the earliest state of the universe, a congregated mass of atoms in a state of chaos, motions, and collisions. Again, this is remarkably accurate in terms of modern science and far more advanced than the Quran, and written 700 years prior to the Quran. Then, according to Lucretius, something happens. Now listen, he continues, they, the atom, began in fact to separate the heights of heaven from the earth, to single out the sea as a receptacle for water, detached from the mass and set apart the fires of the pure and isolated ether. The more closely they, the atom, cohered and clung together, the more they squeezed out the atoms that went to the making of the sea and stars, sun and moon, and the outer walls of the great world. So Lucretius therefore describes the separation of heaven and earth as being caused by the composition of the primordial universe, particularly because of the atoms as they collide and as they cohere, or as they stick together. Now, much of this is remarkably scientifically accurate, and much is not, but yet it reveals how common the idea had become, and how much it flourished in the generations, in society prior to Islam, that the heavens and earth once was fused and then they separate for some other reason. So once again, does the Quran predict the discovery of or theory of the modern science in relation to the Big Bang or the origin of the universe? The answer is basically no. Is the Quranic description even correct? Again, the answer is no. Was the Quranic description well known and established contemporarily and prior to Islam? The answer is yes. Is the claim of Harun Yahya, Bukeli, and Osama Abdallah and Zakir Naik and others accurate and even worth considering? The answer is no. So there you go, another significant claim debunked. The Quran does not predict the modern theory of the Big Bang. God bless, and we meet again.